Hello everyone, our project name is Market Strategy Suggestions for B2C Websites. In traditional marketing, the most time and energy consuming thing is collect data. The researcher need to go to the supermarket or get onto the street to interview consumers. And due to the various objects they need to analyze, they need to do this work repeatedly. Since we have already come to the big data era, which means that the data is of large scale and includes overall aspects, we think it's necessary for us to develop a tool which could analyze the data for many times. So in this project, we develop a customized tool where the index and objects of the analysis could get adjusted according to the demands of the users. So that we could get convincing and concrete reference from the data, and the tool is also user customized. We got our dataset from the ICPSR website, which is from the Institute of Social Science in the University of Michigan. The dataset looks like this. We could get the user's ID and their age, their education level, occupation, and the area they live in, and the most importantly, their expenditure of this year. Since we have got the dataset, we do the customized clustering. The index could be chosen by the user, such as the average expense, age, and their area, so that we could get the clustering result for the users, so that they could get the consumer constitute of the market. In this project, we take vehicle data as an example to introduce our methods. We mainly use the four methods for clustering, which is the tag-based clustering, customer-based clustering, and furthermore, we developed optimized customer-based clustering and in particular situation for the customer-based clustering for certain brands. Before we do the clustering, we did some pre-processing of the data. The first is rescaling because due to the various of the scales of the range of the data, this might affect the results of the clustering. And another thing is that we change the data into vectors for further analysis. The first method is tag-based clustering. We use the vectors of the tags, which is the brand of the vehicle, age, income, education level of the consumer, and the dimensions are the user's IDs. The result is like follow, but we think this method finally we could not get expected results, though we further develop into more methods.
Then we come up with the customer-based clustering. We take rescaled income, age, and education level as 3 dimensions, and create vectors of all the customers. Then we cluster all the customers according to their income, age, and education level. With the result, we can divide all the people into different types. Then in each cluster, we can count top 3 vehicle brands they most prefer according to their consumer record. This method can easily and successfully cluster customers, and this clustering result is only according to customers' age, income, and education level. However, customers' preference of vehicles are missed. For each customer, what car they own is also a characteristic that can affect the clustering result. So we optimized our customer-based clustering. In this clustering method, we not only take income, age, and education level as dimensions, but also the vehicle information as vector dimensions. In this method, every car brand with different size is viewed as a dimension. For each cluster vector, we mark 1 in the particular dimension that represents the vehicle they owned. First, we'll show you our vectors. Then we generate 10 clusters. Then this is the result of the center points of the clusters and the number of customers in the clusters, and also we show you the radius of each clusters. Then we interpret the cluster results into more readable results. First dimensions are referred to the rescaled age, education level, and income. And we can use this information, get the characteristic of the people in a certain cluster. And the radius can tell us the range of age, education level, and income in each cluster, and the possibility they buy a car of the certain brand. Then also we can get the relationship between where the customer live and their preference of vehicle brand. With the cluster results, we can come up with the applications that we can show a certain customer which cluster he belongs to and suggest him of a certain car brand. Then for some particular situation, we can come up with the customer-based clustering for each for a certain brand. First, we cluster all the customers. Then we not take all the data, but extracted the data of for a certain brand. Here we chose brand Ford as an example. We just pick up the customers who buy the Ford, and then we do the cluster, use their age, education level, and income. Here is the result. Also, we can show you the numbers of each clusters and the center points of the clusters and the radius of clusters. First, this is the all brand result. Then we show you the most heavy cluster for the certain brand Ford. So we can conclude that our marketing strategy for Ford is better focusing on this group of people. And also compare with the clustering result of all brands, and we can see that the customer of Ford will hold a slightly older of people with other brands, and education years is a little lower, yet the annual income is a little more than those of all brands. With the analysis above, we can likely to get a deeper understanding of the marketing strategy for B2C website. Our cluster methods can give marketing strategy for a vehicle brand as the example. However, we can use our methods to give suggestions in many expenditure fields. Then now it's time for the demo for the optimized cluster based clustering and the customer based clustering for each brand, for a certain brand. Thank you.
This is a demo for customer-based clustering for a certain brand. In this demo, I use Eclipse as a platform and Java as a language to run the code. The first part, I extract useful data from the raw dataset. And the second part, I do the rescaling of the data. The third part, I run the algorithm of k-means clustering. The first part, I do something to the data, and finally it will give us a readable report for our customers. So let's run the code. And output files will be in this folder. So we can see we have 3 output files. The first one, C points, shows us the cluster points of every data node. And it shows us the information of its vector and its distance to its clustering point, and which cluster it belongs to. The second one is the C results. The C result shows the cluster information. Like there are 5 clusters, and each cluster, the number of points in this cluster, the central point of the cluster, and the radius of the cluster. Third one is C reports. It shows us a user-friendly report, so it can show us the center information for every cluster and the range. Like for this cluster, the range of its age is from 31 to 59. And also the education range and income range is included. So with all this, we select some data set and form this result. This one is for all vehicles. Like we have about 25 brands of vehicles, and this one is the data for all vehicles, and it will show us an average value. And we ran eight data set for each brand, like BMW and Toyota and Honda. So this result is for this kind of cars. So this is part of the cluster-based clustering, customer-based clustering for certain brand.